We have all heard the saying before that humans tend to share DNA that is very highly genetically similar with that of our so-called evolutionary cousins, the chimpanzees. Evolutionists have long held that we humans share very high similarity with chimps because we both share a very recent divergence from them that occurred about several million years ago, and also that we evolved from a common ancestor. Yet new insights are brought up into scientific literature involving mammalian evolution that just makes things even more interesting. Apparently, a group of Australian researchers have finally mapped out the genome and chromosome of marsupials, which are basically non-placental mammals, such as that of kangaroos. And what they found was very shocking. It turned out that kangaroos also tend to share very strong genetic similarity with that of humans. In the Australian science paper entitled Genes Maps of Marsupials, a group of Australian researchers did a genome as well as a chromosome mapping analysis of the kangaroo and compared it to that of placental mammals, including that of humans. To their surprise, they found that the marsupial kangaroo genome shares a very large portion of not individual genes, but the same genes in chromosomal regions found in eutherian species, specifically that of humans. As quoted in the paper, what is synteny? The encyclopedia gives the following description of synteny, which is the general finding is that organisms of relatively recent divergence show similar blocks of genes in the same relative positions in the genome. This situation is called synteny, translated roughly as possessing common chromosome sequences. For example, many of the genes of humans are syntenic with those of other mammals, not only apes but also cows, mice, and so on. So apparently, they found that humans share a substantial block of genes in the same relative chromosome regions, but of course rearranged compared to that of kangaroos. By analogy, this is like finding thousands of the same houses, which are the genes within the same street, but just rearranged differently. In other words, if you were to be in the chromosomes, the place where DNA is stored and found, of kangaroos, you will eventually find most genes being that the same as that in human chromosomes, with the only difference of them being rearranged in a different place. However, synteny is expected to occur only in closely related relationships, such as that of chimps, given that the more distant species are expected to have less similarity. Given that kangaroos are marsupials and humans are placental, obviously we wouldn't expect no relation. But marsupials, typically kangaroos, are a special case, as it demonstrated that despite kangaroos being obviously unrelated and very distant from humans, most of the chromosome regions were nevertheless able to converge independently to that of the human genome, a classical case where convergent evolution has once again contradicted the idea that homology should be found only in closely related evolutionary relationships, as opposed to distant ones. As quoted by the Australian scientists again, far outnumber and outweigh their differences. To rephrase, there are much more similarities in the genomes between placental and non-placental mammals than there are in differences. This is completely unexpected, as common descent only predicts that similarities should only be found in closely related evolutionary relationships, except that here is not the case. Interestingly though, the level of similarity found between humans and kangaroos is also found to be present in species from otherwise different taxonomic classes, such as that of reptiles and birds, as quoted from another Australian 2013 paper entitled Kangaroo Gene Mapping and Sequencing Insights into Mammalian Genome Evolution. Basically, what they found, as quoted, this high concentration of marsupial chromosomes was always held to be unusual, being very different from the great variety of eutherian chromosomes, number sizes, and morphology. However, in this conservation, marsupials are similar to birds and reptiles, whose karyotypes are strikingly homologous with each other, including examples of chickens, and even turtles. In addition, their chromosomes, the chickens and even the turtles, have chromosomes that are considered to the Australian scientists homologous by chromosome painting. Not only does homology appear to be limited between kangaroos and humans or other placental animals, but the same shocking similarities are also found to be surprisingly present in the genome of birds, reptiles, turtles, and yes, even chickens. One of the Australian scientists, Jenny Graves, who has spent more than a decade doing evolutionary studies on marsupials and contributed to the scientific literature by publishing extensive peer-reviewed papers, commented, "There are a few differences. We have few more of this, a few less of that, but they are the same genes and a lot of them are in the same order," said Jenny Graves, director of the Center of Excellence for Kangaroo Genomics. "We thought they would be completely scrambled, but they're not. There is a great chunks of the human genome which is sitting right there in the kangaroo genome," she added. Of course, evolutionists like her thought the genome between kangaroos and humans would be very different from each other, given that it makes no sense otherwise according to common descent. Yet, to her surprise, she found something shocking and quite unexpected. Shocking and surprising indeed if one was to believe in common descent, a theory full of holes as obviously illustrated in the scientific literature such as this one. However, with common design, it makes perfect sense as we would expect the same similarities, or at least similar ones, to appear independently from not just closely related, but also unrelated species as well. It seems that kangaroos, despite their oddly primitive appearances and cute appearance that is unique in Australia, have done a great job in shrinking the imaginative common descent trio life so significantly, down to the point that it trembles greatly by the pounding force by every step they make. It's more likely common design is at play here than common descent. Thanks for watching.